Hello and welcome, my dear student. Today we are going to talk about the characters of Robinson Crusoe, the famous novel written by Daniel Defoe. In our previous lecture, we talked about the life of the author, that is Daniel Defoe, the dramatic life of Daniel Defoe, that from a son of a butcher, he became one of the famous writer of his time. So, after discussing the life of Daniel Defoe, we came to know that he has a tendency, he has a tenacity, he has a interest on the adventures, and he wrote about Robinson Crusoe, and the context was taken from Alexander Selkirk, a mariner from Scotland. So Alexander Selkirk, he went on an adventure to the Caribbean Sea, and his ship was wrecked, and he was drowned almost, and uh, he suddenly arrived to an uninhabited island. So it is the shadow of Selkirk. This story, this story of Robinson Crusoe, it is the shadow of Alexander Selkirk, or in another word, we can say that it was written on the shadow of the great mariner Alexander Selkirk. So the characters, though we don't have many characters, we have narratives of events from the description of the writer Daniel Defoe, but we have few significant characters. And before going to the story itself, I would like to tell you about the characters and the characteristics of those characters. So the first character is the protagonist of the novel, that is Robinson Crusoe. And you know about protagonist. So since you are a student of almost second year, I thought. Protagonist is the central character, and all the character center or revolves around him. So Robinson Crusoe. The pronunciation, sometimes some people do like Robinson Crusoe, or if you pronounce normally, it is Robinson Crusoe. So let's talk about the hero, the protagonist, the survivor, Robinson Crusoe. So he's the novel's protagonist and also narrator. Because it is a novel, and in the novel we will have narration of event. That is, he will narrate different things, places. Because in the drama, that is the basic difference between drama and novel. In a novel, the writer himself or the characters, they just give the description, they just narrate the events, place, whatever the action is, they just narrate by themselves or by the characters. But in drama, the character itself, narrate the events through their dialogues. So mind it, or remember one thing: the basic difference between drama and novel is, in drama there will be dialogues, and through dialogues we have ideas about the events, about the happenings, and about the flashback, everything. But in the novels, we don't have that kind of privilege. So the writer himself, or describe the things, events, or a character on behalf of the writer does that. So Robinson Crusoe is the protagonist, is the hero, and also he is the main narrator. So his description, we will learn about the whole story. That is the setting of the story and what was happening in his life. All will be known to us by Robinson Crusoe. So he is the protagonist. He is also the narrator on behalf of the writer. So Crusoe began the novel as a young middle class man in York in search of a career. So Mr. Crusoe, he was from a middle class family, and he was from York. York is a famous city of England, and York is on the bank of sea. You can say it is a port city, and there is a dream of the young man from the port cities in those times. There was a trend among the young men to go for the sea travel, there was their dream that I'll be married. So though his father, very pragmatic, his father was much practical. That's why his father suggested that my son Russo, don't go for sea voyage. Rather, we are middle class family, and for a middle class existence, it is necessary for us to learn something, to practice something which will have a income for your lifetime, and you don't have to think for your income. So his father recommends that my son Crusoe, uh, he should read law. But Crusoe yearns for a life at sea, and he's called down. Okay, and his subsequent rebellion uh, and decision to become a merchant is the starting point for the whole adventure that follows. So it is a it is a kind of tendency among the young people, young man. The I will not say that teenager, but among the young men, there is a tendency that I know much better about the current or contemporary world than my father or than my seniors. I am more intelligent. I am smarter than the previous generation. So that was the case with Crusoe, and though his father forbade him because his uh, brother, he went on adventure and he never returned. One of his another brother, he died in the war. So Crusoe was the only survivor in the family, only son of the family. The youngest is the only survivor of the family. That's why the parents wanted him to remain within home. But uh, there is a rebellious nature with the young man. The young men, they they are sometimes reluctant to follow the parents' advice. So here is the same with Robinson Crusoe. So and because of that reluctancy to get the advice, to take the advice from the parents, the adventure began in his life. His vague but recurring feeling of guilt over his disobedience colored the first part of the first half of the story and show us how deep Crusoe's religious fear is. So when he was in Europe, he was reluctant to take advice from the parents. Not only that, he was not that much religious also. So, like every man who are not practicing in their own religion, uh, our Crusoe, our hero, he also become very much religious when he suddenly the ship was wrecked on the last adventure, and he turned into a, or he survived into a uninhabited island there. And suddenly he found there is nobody there, and I am alone here, though there are different resources to survive. But as a young man, he was naive because he was the youngest son of the family. He never ever do the hard works. But now, because of the situation, he has to survive there. And the only thing, because he can't see anyone there. Even he tried to explore by a canoe. He tried to explore the island where he was, but he didn't find any sign of human inhabitants. So only one thing. He was a Christian. He was he was a he was from a Christian family. So the only thing that worked as a balm for him was religion. Religion used to give him the solace of mind, or psychological, or he was relieved from the psychological agony and guilt. The guilt, why he was feeling guilty? Because he disobeyed to his parents. He didn't listen to his parents simply. That's why a sense of guilt was there, that because I was reluctant to take the advice from my parents, and it is the consequence. And that's why I'm here in this uninhabited island, in a deserted island. So sense of guilt was there, and because of that guilt, he just went on to become a practicing Christian. Tuzo is steady and flowing in everything he does, and his perseverance ensures his survival through storms, enslavement, and a 28 years isolation on a desert island. So, yes, Crusoe is a Robinson Crusoe. The novel itself is a miniature of colonialism, and also Crusoe is a symbol. Robinson Crusoe is a symbol for all the human beings, that in any adverse situation, you have to stay calm. You have to remain faithful to your religion. You have to think positively. And because of his positivity, because of his thinking, he survived the deserted island, and he was able to survive for 28 long years in that island, and finally he returned to England. So that was about our protagonist, our hero, and all the story of the novel centers or revolve around this character Robinson Crusoe. Then we have the character Friday. So Friday is a 26-year-old Caribbean native and cannibal. So cannibal is a word maybe new to you, not to everyone probably, but most of you. Cannibal is a kind of race who used to, who are accustomed to eat the fleshes of human beings. So they themselves are Homo sapiens, but still they are accustomed to, or they have the habit of eating the man's flesh of the same kind of animal they used to eat. So he is from Caribbean island. The Caribbean island, that means nowadays we call this West Indies. That is just before the United States of America. So he was a 26-year-old young man, and he was a cannibal, and who converts to Protestantism under Crusoe's tutelage. So Crusoe become his master, and you know when we read about colonialism and imperialism, so because of three things, they used to make colonies. Number one, to expand the territory, that we need more land. Our kingdom, our monarchy, our empire needs to build larger and larger. That is number one priority. Number two, to accumulate all the precious metal from different parts of the world, and enrich your own country. That is the second thing. That is purpose of material gain. And when they explored to different parts of the world, they came to know that the world is a treasure house, because in many parts of the world you will have different sort of things, and by that you can build a strong monarchy, and by that you can dominate the whole world. That was their motive. So that was second one. And third one is to preach your own religion. So when you become superior than other race, you try to uh, you know uh, exact your, or you try to practice those subjects or those people who are under you, your language and your religion. So the first thing Crusoe does after saving the life of Friday is to convert himself, that is Friday, into a Protestant, into Christian. Friday becomes Crusoe's servant after Crusoe saves his life. When Friday is about to be eaten by other cannibals, so Friday was very much grateful to the master, to Robinson Crusoe, because he was about to die. The cannibals, they used to roam around the islands, and they used to have barbecue parties to different islands. They used to kidnap people from other groups, and they used to go to islands and have a barbecue party like that with the human flesh, and they went away. That was their routine. So in that particular day, when Friday was rescued from the claws of the cannibals, he was accompanied by another young man from his own group, and that man was already killed, and he just ran towards the inhabitants of Crusoe, and Crusoe saved him. So when a person saves your life, you are lifelong grateful to them. The gratitude will be there in every word, every action. So that happened with Friday, of course. So Friday never appears to resist or resent his new servitude, and he may sincerely view it as appropriate compensation for having his life saved. So সে মনে করে যেহেতু রবিনসন ক্রুসো মিস্টার ক্রুসো saved my life, that's why I have to be very much grateful to him always. And the gratefulness is not always there with every man, but we see it with Friday, that he was very much grateful with Robinson Crusoe. That's why he never resists anything. Whatever Crusoe ordered him, he was ever ready, and he was ever ready to give his life for saving Robinson Crusoe's life. So you see the level of gratitude is like that, and as a human being, we also need to learn from that the character of Friday, that whoever help you in your bad times, please try to be grateful to that person. Never try to resist, or never try to be harmful to that person who helped you in your bad days. So that's why Friday is very much grateful to Mr. Crusoe for saving the life. Okay. Um, Friday's overall charisma works against the emotional deadness that many readers find in Crusoe. So, uh, Crusoe, being a English person and a British person, they are not that much emotional. They are very much practical. So, Crusoe, though, is emotionally dead, but a new charisma we find in the novel from the character of Friday, that he is very much agile and emotional. So the emotion that is not there in the character of Mr. Crusoe, we find that from the character of Friday. The next important character in this novel is the Portuguese captain. So we know that Portugal, France, Spain, Netherlands, these and England, these people were fighting for the superiority in the sea, because in those days, whoever is powerful in their naval fleets, whoever is powerful in their maps, they will rule the world. So we know that from the Elizabethan period, England became the most dominant, the most powerful sea force, and later they become the first superpower in the whole world. So around the 20th century, almost 87% of the whole world was under the Europeans. So Portuguese, that is the people from Portugal, we have a character from that. That is the Portuguese captain. So the sea captain who picks up Crusoe and the slave boy Yuri from their boat after they escape from their Moorish captors and float down the African coast. So Portuguese captain, though Portugal and England was rival in the sea, but here we see the character of Portuguese captain in a different manner. He is generous, not a not an enemy of the English people, even though he know that Robinson Crusoe is a British by birth, he is a British citizen, but still here we see the generous character of Portuguese captain that is very unusual from a British writer. Why that happened? Because we know that Daniel Defoe he had ideas about different nationalities because he himself has a clothes shop, and because of the business he used to roam around the continent. That's why he had idea. Maybe he had a good notion about the Portuguese people. That's why we see a positive character in the writing of a British people in that time, which is very exemplary, which is not usual. So it is the Portuguese captain who saved not only our hero Robinson Crusoe, but Evie from the hand of the pirates, sea pirates, because they were captivated in the Moorish port of Salé, that is near African coast. The Portuguese captain takes Crusoe to Brazil and thus inaugurates Crusoe's new life as a plantation owner. So the civilization, the Western civilization we see nowadays, it is it is based on three agricultural products. The basic or the three agricultural products behind this huge civilization of the world, that is sugarcane, tobacco, and plantation of cotton. So Brazil was a very charismatic destination. It was an exotic destination for the adventure-loving people, for the colonizer throughout the whole world, and Portuguese captain took him to Brazil, and from there his life started to change. That is the life of our hero, Mr. Robinson Crusoe, he started to change because there he become the owner of a plantation. The Portuguese captain is never named. We don't know the name of the Portuguese captain. Unlike Yuri, for example, Yuri has a name that he's a slave. He has a name like Yuri, but Portuguese captain he doesn't have any name at all, and his anonymity suggests a certain interesting bluntness in his role in the novel. So maybe Defoe never wanted to become unpopular in his own country because at the first time he wrote about the generosity of the Portuguese captain. That is one thing. But if he give a name of the Portuguese captain, then he will become unpopular among the readers. That's why he didn't dare to take the name of the Portuguese captain. He is polite. That is, the Portuguese captain was very much polite, of course, personable. He had a good personality and extremely generous to Crusoe, taking care of buying the animal skin and the slave boy from Crusoe at well over market value. So when Crusoe rescued himself from the hand of the pirates from the Moorish port of Salem, Crusoe doesn't have a single penny in his hand. That is, he sold the Portuguese captain, to Portuguese captain, the boy Yuri. Not only that, a skin of a animal. You know, just from the African coast, and in African coast, in Africa, it is the house, it is the abode of big cats, huge cats. So he sold one of the big cat's skin to the Portuguese captain, and from nowhere he get a lot of money. He become a man who can own a plantation in Brazil. His role in Crusoe's life is crucial. So, Crusoe and we the reader cannot deny the role of the Portuguese captain in the life of Crusoe. The transformation of Crusoe, we cannot deny the importance of this Portuguese captain at all. Since he both arranges for Crusoe new career as a plantation owner and helps Crusoe cash in on the profits later. So not only that he helped Crusoe to become a plantation owner, but he also helps Crusoe to hand out the profit. So Crusoe was in the inhabited island for 28 years, but after 20 years, when he returned to Brazil, he found that a friend is there. Who is that friend? Portuguese captain was there to help him. And Portuguese captain handed over all the profit of the plantation from Crusoe's plantation. So we see Portuguese captain as a very trusted friend, a trustworthy friend, which is rare. A rare, trustworthy friend we see from the character of the Portuguese captain. Then we have the Spaniard. Um, if we scroll down, we will find the character of the Spaniard. So you see, we have a character from Portugal. Now we have a character from another rival country, that is Spain. So you know, during the reign of Elizabeth, Queen Elizabeth, uh, it is Queen Elizabeth who, with her charismatic leadership, she used the sea dogs of England to destroy the naval fleet of, that is called Spanish Armada of Spain, and England became the superpower in the sea. And by her cunningness, she destroyed the uh, Spanish Armada, and yes, of course, England became the superpower in the sea and dominant power all over the world, dominant colonizer all over the world. So there is Spaniard here. One of the men from Spanish ship that is wrecked of Crusoe's island, and whose crew is rescued by the cannibals and taken to a neighboring island. So suddenly, Crusoe one day see on a Spaniard on the island, and he learned from the Spaniard that yes, other men from their ship was kidnapped by the cannibals, and cannibals, they are going to eat out those Spaniards, and they are living in a very nearby island. He escaped from there. The Spaniard is doomed to be eaten as a ritual victim of the cannibals when Crusoe saves him. So this Spaniard not came suddenly, but like Friday, also the Spaniard was saved by our hero, Mr. Robinson Crusoe. In exchange, he becomes a new subject in Crusoe's kingdom, at least according to Crusoe. So Crusoe is a master, Crusoe is the king of the kingdom. Now he thinks so. So you see the psychology. You see the psychology of the uh, colonizer, that I need subject. That is, I need people. I am here. I was alone here. Now I have Friday. Now I have a Spaniard. So you see. the Spanish rivalry with Britain is to some extent explored in a different manner, that yes, we can subjugate, we can make the Spanish people our servant also. The Spanish people are also working under us. That is a kind of psychological game that Mr. Crusoe was playing. So now he thinks that it is a sovereign country, and I am the king of this country, and I am the king of this island, and I have subject from a native, that is Friday. Now I have another subject. If we call subject in Bangla, it is proja. I have another proja from Spain. The Spaniard is never fleshed out much as a character in Crusoe's narrative. So Crusoe didn't talk about much uh, about the character, about the behavior of the Spaniard. An example of the odd impersonal attitude often notable in Crusoe. So we know from our previous reading that Crusoe was not that much emotional. So he didn't give us any idea about the characteristic of the Spaniard. Now we have the next character, that is Yuri. So, a non-white Arab or black uh, Arab or black slave boy only briefly introduced during the period of Crusoe's enslavement in Saleh. Saleh is a port in Morocco, that is in African coast. So yes, this boy Yuri is a non-white. We are not sure because it is not given in the novel whether he was Arab or black, but we can assume, as because he was from Morocco, he is an Arab. So he is briefly introduced to us. He is not introduced, or his character is not also flourished like the other characters. So he met, that is Crusoe met him in Saleh, Moroccan port of Saleh. When Crusoe escapes with two other slaves in a boat, he forces on to swim to shore but keeps Yuri on board. So let me tell some background that how Crusoe was dominant over Yuri, or how he gave Yuri with him. So when they were captivated in the Moroccan port of Salem. It was their routine that every day they had to go for fishing. That is, the pirates, they let them to go fishing, and two bodyguards were there with every captivated person. So Crusoe was there on the boat and on a canoe, and they were fishing on the sea, and suddenly there is a trick from the British brain of Crusoe, and he throw on man um, uh, into the sea and threat Yuri, whether you are going to me, you are with me, you are going with me, or I will also throw you in the sea. Out of fear, uh, Yuri was pacified, and Yuri was bound to be enslaved to Mr. Crusoe, because Crusoe was much stronger than Yuri. So, showing a certain trust toward the boy. So, he believed the boy. Yuri never betrays that trust. So, Yuri was very trustworthy to Mr. Robinson Crusoe. Nevertheless, when the Portuguese captain eventually picks them up, Crusoe sells Yuri to the captain. Crusoe's cell shows up the risks, double standard, sometimes apparent in Crusoe's behavior. So you see that though Yuri helped him out from that captive situation, but you see the double standard in the behavior of the British people, that the person who helped you, in your escape, you are selling that person. How can it be possible? That is a kind of double standard. There is a kind of double standard that the racist people of England they had. So a miniature. Crusoe is a miniature of the empire building of England. You see that. So the next character we have is the character of a widow. So the character of a widow is important, but like the Portuguese captain, we don't know her name also here. Appearing briefly out on two separate occasions in the novel, the widow keeps Crusoe's £200 safe in England throughout all his 35 years of journeying. So Crusoe তার কাছে কিছু টাকা রেখে গিয়েছিল ওই উইডোর কাছে, some money he kept with the widow, and after 35 years she met with the widow and the widow returned the money. We don't know the relationship between widow and Crusoe, but there is certain relationship, close relationship between them, but we are not certain about that, or that relation is not specified in the novel. She returns it loyally to Crusoe upon his return to England, and like the Portuguese captain and Friday, remind us of the goodwill and trustworthiness of which human can be capable, whether European or not. So, you see, the characters of Portuguese captain, Friday, and the widow remind us that for trustworthiness, for a well-wisher, you don't need to be a European, you don't need to be African, you don't need to be a Portuguese. A human being can be good from any race, from any gender, from any color, despite of from different color, different creed, different culture. Trustworthiness is something which is imbued within human being, and that was all about the characters of this very famous novel, Robinson Crusoe, that is regarded as one of the modern classics, and these are the main characters, of course. And in the course of the novel, there will be few other, minor characters, but these are the major characters, and symbolically and thematically, and on the course of the novel, we discussed the characters, you know, uh, from various perspectives, and I hope that my dear students, you are now capable enough, or you are knowledgeable enough to describe from your point of view, from your words about the characters of Robinson Crusoe. So that's all for today. Thank you very much.